his wife changed my life. One day I happened to be at a friend's event and she was talking about travel and I was ear hustling and I was like, wait, what? What'd you say? And she started trying to break down the system. And I was like, hold on, it's too much. And it took me a little while after that to get my mind wrapped around kind of the concept of traveling and not having to pay out of pocket, which I've been doing for years. So again, this gentleman and his wife really have put a blueprint out there, quite frankly, about how to travel in style, now how to travel as parents of two amazing little girls. And so I'll do a bit of introduction for him. I'm sure he's a man of many words, so he'll be able to add his spin to it. But ultimately, Ronnie Dunston began his love of travel at a very young age, and he's not stopped. The more places he visited, the hungrier he got to see more, and he wanted to unlock more of the world. And so, as he gained more experience in terms of the travel industry, he learned how to travel for cheap using points and miles. He also set a personal goal with his then fiance, now wife, to see 100 countries. And over the years, they've learned the ins and outs of travel through their efforts to do 100 countries and counting, which he'll talk about at this point. So they surpassed their goal. For those of you who thought you would have to wait to the end for that. And so after they did reach that first goal of visiting those 100 countries around September of 2018, Ronnie sat down and developed an educational system that he calls the Tricks to Travel. And so instead of thinking about booking travel and vacations for others the way a travel agent does, ultimately the aim of the Tricks to Travel system is to teach you, the traveler, how to find and book your own vacation using points, maximizing them, your frequent flyer miles, and things like that to get free hotels and free air fare or upgrades. And so he has decades of experience, including counseling, being a professor, a training specialist, and a business owner. And so he is ultimately passionate about creating this travel network and this system of people who really want to have their own personal travel goals. There's so much more to it as we'll have in this conversation, but really excited because they are, as they say, walking it like they talk it. And he can talk a little bit about how he got there. And so, Ronnie, I'll pause for a moment to see if there are any words you have to get us started.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, pretty much. But yes, that's exactly it. I mean, you have the background history there, and it was just more so we didn't want to spend a lot of money, traveling. I realized looking into it that travel can be very expensive, and I said, it's got to be a better way. It's got to be a better way, and that's where I really got into like the points and miles, and just it's a lot of bloggers out there. It's a little even when I first started. Actually about 10 years ago now. So no, 10 years ago now. I just realized it's 2024. Not too many people were very forthcoming as they are, a little bit are now. They still kind of give you just enough to kind of hang yourself or enough for you to kind of get started and not really walk you through. And that's some of the things that I do and try to help people with. But
Yeah, very nice. And so then if you can take us back a little bit. So you said you had a love of travel that started early and
mhm.
that you have continued. So how early is early for you in terms of traveling and that stoking of that love?
So the ability to go, I'm a military brat. So my dad, he joined the military right out of high school, like 18. I was actually born. I'm not going to age myself too much, but
Oh,
I was born not too long after that. So my dad had me young, and both of my parents had me pretty young, and not like 16, something like that, but pretty still young, right? My dad's
mhm.
21, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's 21 years older than me, and when he brought us to Germany. So his first deployment, his first thing was Germany. We lived in Würzburg, Germany. So I was really young. So we went back in Frankfurt, but internationally, I've only been to Germany technically well, internationally I've only lived in Germany with my parents at a young age. And I did go to school. I went to Frankfurt. So we went back, but we traveled like Texas and we've traveled all over Jersey, Texas, Georgia. Like so we've been to other places, and that just being able to change scenery and change, like even with school, I had the opportunity. I'm from Jersey originally, and I graduated from school in New Jersey. But we, it was one point, I think it was my sophomore year, and he was going to Texas. I was like, yeah, I'll go. People just uproot. Most people don't want to uproot from their friends and family and things of that nature, which we had in Jersey. And I was down. I was like, yeah, let's go to Texas, new spot, let's do it. And went there I did my. It was funny because when I got there to finish my sophomore year out, so I only had like a month left because they get out of school in like May or something like that. And then I did my whole junior year. I did want to come back to Jersey to graduate. I don't know what it was back then. It was like, I don't want to graduate from Texas. At that time, me being from Jersey, I just said I didn't want to graduate from Texas. But I probably, in hindsight, I probably could have. But I think a lot of things occurred for me graduating from Jersey, just being around, being back home, that probably, helped me. Like I went to Seton Hall for undergrad. So and that's in Jersey. I probably wouldn't have went to Seton Hall if I would have graduated from Texas, all sorts of things. But it was just the love for changing scenery. That's pretty much what it came down to. And then, the love for actual international travel just grew later on. I would say probably into college. So into college is when that occurred for me.
Okay. So then you were basically on your parents' dime when you were growing up in terms of going to
Exactly.
new places
Exactly.
and getting it. Um, and I'm actually getting a few people saying that they may not be seeing it, so I'm not sure why. It looks like we're live in YouTube, so I'm going to post the link there just so that people can access it just to be safe. And so ultimately, as I said, you were traveling on your own dime
Mhm.
and then found I guess assuming going to college, were you traveling in college? And I'm not going to date myself as well in terms of some of these Hulu specials that came out that you
Yeah.
hopefully were not trying to find yourself on. But at the end of the day, were you traveling a lot in college, or were you mostly doing that once you graduated? And for some of us trying to get
I
situated.
was I grad in college. I did travel, but mine was more like Mexico. I went to Mexico, not Canada too much in college, and then I went all over. So in Jersey, I've been every single. I'm one of the people that can say because I was a partier, and I'm also in a fraternity. So Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. So I traveled to every single state, college, and university in the state of New Jersey. So that's one of the things I went to all the campuses, but I was more like the party and not necessarily travel. But just being able to pick up and go has always been in my blood. So,
Okay.
wait, hold
Okay.
1 second. I think I have an issue here.
No problem.
Uh, Let me see here. Oh, you know what? I wasn't even seeing the chat, so that's probably why. Sure. All right, I'm just trying to move my stuff out. There we go. That's a little better.
No problem. And I just posted on Facebook, so hopefully people will be able to access it um, at this point. So let me make sure it's in another location as well. All right, there we go. And I'll just let them know we are live. Okay. And God, I love the technological gremlins. They are always alive and well. Um, and I do want to laugh, so I'm going to do a shout out, even though folks talk about the indie swindle, being married into it. I think there is some indie love here. So for the audience members, Ronnie, as he says, is an illustrious member of Kappa Alpha Psi, and he's married to a pretty poodle, one of my sorors. So, y'all are doing it right. So you have upgraded one another. But
True.
as you said, and like a lot of us did, getting on the road in college, doing the road trips and seeing it. Some of us, I'm from North Carolina and we
Mhm.
were at UNC and we traveled. I remember going to the Philly Greek picnic, like, what is
Yeah,
this? And all these people from
yeah.
all over the place. And again, kind of that awareness that there was a life outside of my state, outside of my college, just kind of all that stuff. And it definitely was really exciting in terms of thinking about the next steps in travel and whatnot.
I was
And
going to see.
so
I went to CIAA every year in Charlotte from 2014, all the way in, no, 2008. I'm sorry, 2008 all the way to like 2014 is when I kind of stopped.
mhm.
But yeah, I definitely had my share of travel.
Yes, yes. So then as you think about the post-undergrad experience and obviously doing as much road tripping as you could, at what point would you say your your travel shifted, and I know you said you were going to probably the traditional places most of us went, Mexico, the Caribbean, and stuff like that. At what point did you either your trips start to become more frequent or more focused in terms of international?
Oh, once Sheba and I, we kind of got together. So we've been together since oh, '07. That's when I started going to so '07. What occurred was, and I'll give all credit to my wife, is we would follow the deals as most people do. Will like, oh, Mexico, Bahamas, a lot of the Caribbean. We would follow the deals where the deals were, and I always tell people, once we got on a 100 country journey, you're not finding deals in Vanuatu. You wasn't finding as many, and it's crazy because we've been to Maldives like 4 times. But when we first went to Maldives, it wasn't quote unquote social media. People were going, but not us. You know what I mean? That's what I'll say. So it's a lot of places that we've been that I see on social media now. Like they didn't have the hand bridge in Da Nang, Vietnam. They didn't have the Bali swing then when we went. They didn't have the little Bali trick where I've been in that temple. There's no water there. They put a mirror there. You know what I mean? So there's little things that I'm like, yeah, when we were traveling, we didn't have that. But I mean, they didn't have that. But for us, excuse me, my phone here. For us, it was my wife was like, hey, don't you want to see more of just the Caribbean? And I was like, yeah, I definitely want to see more of more than just the Caribbean, more than just the
Mhm.
deals. And I was like, yeah, sure. She was like, well, let's expand our travel. And I was like, well, how many countries are there? I said, okay, it's 195. I said, well, let's do like a road to 100 countries. And I said, let's do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we did the whole. I came up with the whole name, like roads 100 countries. Let's go to at least half of it, and that's how it started.
Oh, wow. And so y'all were just kind of sitting around like, okay, well, we want to do this, but then it was like, wait a minute, can we make it a goal? And so at that point that y'all started thinking about it as a goal, and obviously it sounds like you had traveled and done, some countries already. At what point did the use of miles kick in, or how were y'all basically financing your earlier trips? Were you still leveraging points and miles, or was that
So
a
we
new
got
new
actually, let me do a white background here. Hold on 1 second. So we did a. I messed up my stuff here. They don't do
all
that.
good?
I'm trying to move my stuff because I'm actually still in my office. So let me fix this here.
Luckily, again, you're not home, as we're
Yeah,
talking about
I
having
meant to
kids
say
and
that. Say
and
that.
kids popping up in the background.
Yeah, you know what? And that was another thing too. If I would have been home, my kids would have definitely been popping up in the background. So I was like, let me change that out. So what I'm trying to do is just situate myself so that let me see here. More white background.
And I know
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have
yeah.
people yep, and I know we have people joining, so, just to catch everybody up that, will probably start to trickle in now if they can access the link that I put on Facebook. Ronnie, again, has been traveling for quite some time, and, again, if you hadn't heard, he and his then fiancée basically, has been traveling countries, decided to expand, and then came up with a goal of seeing 100, countries, and so that's where we were getting ready to continue our conversation. But like I said, just kind of people doing regular everyday travel, as many of us have, and then putting some intentionality behind it.
Pretty much.
So
So,
yeah.
and what occurred was, so back in 2013, my wife and I've been traveling, then girlfriend, fiance, whatever we want to call her, right? I tell her, so we married now, it doesn't matter. So,
Mhm.
we, we started, I want to say, we were traveling actually since like '08. I think our first trip we went with each other. We went to Miami. We like kind of tested the waters, and our first international was technically Canada, and it was 2013. And she was like, "Hey, you want to see more than just the Caribbean? Maybe I don't even know if we to Paris yet." But I was like, "Yeah, sure." And that's when I said, "Well, how many countries is it?" Looked up the UN. UN recognizes 195. Technically, there's about 227, 223, 227 that
Really?
but the recognized ones are just 195 by the UN, which is it's weird too because with that it's so funny. Like Taiwan, they want to consider themselves a country, but they're not. You know what I mean? Or like it's funny how Hong Kong thinks they're their own country, but it's all a part of China because Hong Kong has their own money, and then so
Mhm.
does then you have China, so you have the Chinese yen, and then the Hong Kong. dollar. I think it's the HK dollar. So HKD, if I'm not mistaken. So it's weird. Sometimes it's funny, or like, and then the other thing is there's a lot of people that travel and count places because they have a flag and it's not a country. Like the French Polynesian Islands, the entire thing is not a country. Tahiti, Bora Bora, it's not a country. It's part of
They're
it's a
not?
French territory. Yeah. So these are things that
Whoop.
people and it's so funny because let me tell you why it gets into that, especially because I'm black, right? So as an African American, when you go on this journey, you start checking off things that aren't countries. All the naysayers and the people are going to come into play. Oh, that's not a country. You counted that, da da da. So I went directly by the UN.
Mhm.
I went by the UN and I said United Nations. If no one knows what the UN is, and I said let's go based on that, and that's how we started checking off. And I realized, like, wow, French Polynesian Islands, not a country. Or a lot of people, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, the ABC Islands.
Mhm.
Those aren't countries. They're islands and they're part of the Netherlands. So these are places, Guadeloupe, not a country. There's a lot of places that I noticed, and at least in our community, that they call countries and it's not a country. So I've been to, I always tell people, if I go by if I go by your saying, I've been to about 115 countries. If you go
Mhm.
by the UN, I'm a 108. So either way, at the end of the day, and people's like, well, are you going to hit all 195? It's like, it's not really a desire. And both my wife and I work for the government. So there's places we're just not going to, like North Korea. We're not going to make it to. There's a lot of places that we're just not going to make it to. So for us, it was 100 countries and we did our goal. So
Mhm.
we've accomplished our goal, and now at this point is actually taking our daughters now to 100 countries. That's what we're doing now. And then of course the whole movement came about. Road to 100 countries, people who are following us and trying to figure out how do we do it and things of that nature, and that's what came about. But my wife pretty much said, back in 2013. So 2012. I'll take that back. 2012. We started in 2013. 2012 is when she said it, and I started looking into, okay, this is expensive. And
Yeah.
that's when I got into points. So I would say the whole year of 2012, we used to do and I still, actually, the funny part, I still to this day, I won't go to Mexico unless it's on a timeshare deal. And the reason why is I'm like $199 all inclusive for two people, adults, and
Yeah.
sometimes you
Let's
bring
do
two
it.
kids up to 12. I tell people, I'm like, listen, I'm not using my points or my cash to go to Mexico because there's no reason to. But
Mhm.
for us, started in 2012, and I stopped. I haven't paid for a hotel since 2013. So now it's been 11 years. 11 years I haven't paid for a hotel internationally in 11 years. And then our flights now is very new now, but we were paying about 40% of our flights,
Mhm.
using points. And I had a little thing like if it's 600 or less, then we would pay out of pocket. 600 or more, we would use our points. But the crazy part now, since that's happened, is now my daughters who are now Nubia is 4 and Nala will be 2 next week. We're going to
Well, you're
Disney
about to
World.
lose
Yep.
that free
You
seat.
know what's funny? This whole year is already booked, and
Mhm.
we have 7 trips this year. We just came back from Seychelles, which just came back last week. No, Monday. We just came back on Monday. This past Monday. So a lot of people on Instagram, I'm kind of still there, but I I have a little tan too. That's why I had this little ring here trying to put my light right. But
Like, "My lighting's not right." I'm like, "No,
yeah,
you're
I
tan."
was like, yeah, my light is a little off, especially a little darker, more a little darker now from Seychelles. But we our 6 trips after even this one, because we flew in Q suites. My daughters now, and I can say this, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but the whole goal is forever. My daughters haven't flown in economy internationally ever. They've only known first and business class, and it's funny because during our, so I have this little joke I call it economy gin pop. I don't call it gin pop because I think it's beneath me. It was just funny. It was a joke, and I created it when we were in gin pop. I was
Mhm.
like, damn. I was walking back. I was like, we're like walking back to general population, like we're in gin pop. And then my wife's like, gin pop. I was like, yeah. So
Yeah.
I kind of ran with it. And so, T2T, a lot of people, when you hear the words gin pop, it came from me.
Mhm.
I'll tell you right now, that
Mhm.
was a Ronnie Dunston original. And
Yeah.
and I know people go like, oh, we call other things gin pop, but you didn't call economy
You did
gin pop.
not.
There's a
But as soon
difference.
as you said it,
So,
those of us who are still there are like, "Yes. Yes, we do."
so it's crazy because during our Roads 100, we flew a lot of gin pop. And I'll say this to people: when you use points and miles, it's cheaper. It's much, much cheaper in points and miles to fly economy. And then I'm 5'8" myself. My wife is 5'7". We're like right there, neck and neck, right? And we're not big people. So I tell people, I mean, like, we can fly in the back if had to be. But my wife, once we had kids, she put the challenge on me. It was like, look, anything over 5 hours, we need to fly in first and business class. I was like, all right, say less. And I was down for it. And then I realized she got me. We went to LA, and LA is 5.5 hours away. So she's like 5 hours. Like, oh yeah, you got that. So we flew United Polaris with my family to LA, and even though we even flying Orlando next week, and we're flying in first class. But just little tricks that I did it, not necessarily always using all my points with the Delta Platinum and the companion pass, the little things that do here and there. So right now, my daughters have the same Gen Pop, and I don't plan for them too. And that's more recent. I tell people all the time, we weren't flying. So when you go on our Instagram, you see all this luxury travel. Luxury travel happened after kids. And it's funny I say that because a lot of people think once you have kids, like whatever you were doing goes down, and we're just upgrading.
You're like, we're
literally going up. The difference, though, and I will say, is we used to travel 10 to 12 times a year when we didn't have kids, and now it's scaled down to 5 to 7. So it is half the amount of trips, but plus we have daughters. My daughter Nubia is in school now, and Nala, they'll be both starting a summer school come this summer. So we do work around the school schedule as well, and then the federal holidays and things of that nature.
Oh, cool. And so for those people who are listening as parents, that's one of those things that you have to maximize the time. And I know we'll talk a little bit, or can jump here now. But I did want to at least ask, how long did it take you all to get to 100 countries? And I'm assuming you just doubled back for where you all have been to include those in the count. And then, so from the kind of start of you all putting out the challenge to one another, when did you cross that finish line?
So we started in 2013, and we finished it September 2018, 5 years. Not even exactly 5, it's a little less than 5 years because we started at the beginning of 2013. And the thing is, so to be honest, our thing was we had to go to 100 countries together. So technically my wife, like we're at 108, she's technically at 109 because she's been to one country more than me, and she went for work, and that was Sierra Leone. So she's at 109 and I'm at 108 technically, but together we've done 108. And what we did is we stopped repeating countries in 2013. So it was really not exactly 100. I would say it was about 88 because we were like 12 countries in or something like that. And we just said, okay, we're going to stop repeating. And those 12 countries we had been together. So the goal was just everything was together and stop repeating countries. And that's when we hit it. So, it's not exactly 100, it's like 88, but it's 80 plus countries we did in 5 years. We hit that goal within 5 years, but we had been traveling together, like I said, since like 08.
Cool. And we'll be talking about T to T soon, because if someone's sitting there trying to do the math, it's a lot per year. That's the number. It's a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Like
Yeah,
that,
definitely.
and so as we think about that, then the natural question for people listening is probably like, how on earth did y'all travel so much? And you had full-time jobs?
Yes.
like y'all
That
weren't
was
getting
actually
food out? You were flying each other out? Like what? Like what's that all?
That's one of the things that a lot of people didn't realize is that we still have to this day full-time jobs. And what's funny is we now work remote because of the whole COVID. So we both are completely remote. So a lot of people go, oh, you work remote. That's why I was like, we weren't remote
back then.
We did 100 countries. We're remote now. We're remote when we're doing 100 countries with the kids. Our 100 countries, I was going to the office every day. So, you know what I mean? So I tell people all the time, it's like, not that I just turned COVID. I'm not going to say it was a great situation. I turned the COVID lemons into lemonade. That's all. But yeah, we traveled completely full time. And I think that's what actually why like the Shade Room picked us up and Trevor Noir and a couple of different platforms picked us up when we were hitting that country, because a lot of people, like, we don't work for the airline industry. We don't work for the hotel industry. We're not travel agents. We don't get these travel agent discounts. None of that was a part of our equation when we were traveling. Like a lot of these things that I have, like, I wasn't quote unquote an influencer then either. It was a lot of things we weren't during our Roads 100. And I tell people all the time, like, I was you. I was average,
Mhm.
average person, average working person, going to work every day. So it's not one of those. I tell people all the time, like, because the thing about, and I'll say us, I won't say just everybody, like our people, is we always want to, oh, you're doing this because of this. Instead of just asking me for help or asking, how do we necessarily do it? Everybody always comes up with an answer for themselves. Like, oh, you guys did all that because you don't have any kids. Oh, you did all that because you work from home. Oh, you did all that because you probably, I'm like, okay, wasn't working from home then. And yeah, we didn't have kids then, but now we have kids now. Now, what's your excuse now?
Yeah.
Because we have 2 kids. So first it was, oh, Nubia is a lap kid. You're not really paying for it. You're just paying the taxes. And now it's, okay, wait till you have 2. Okay, now we have 2. Oh, well, you're paying for 3, but Nala's a lab kid, blah, blah. Okay, now Nala's turning 2 next week, and we have 6 trips booked all in first and business class. Stop.
What now?
Look,
Just
you
ask the
keep
question
moving
that
the
you
goalpost.
want to ask.
Yeah, like, don't keep moving the goalpost because you want to move the goalpost. Just ask me how.
Yeah.
Ask me how I'm doing it. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
here you go. And
Mhm.
then that's another thing. My course, so I'm very forthcoming and I don't gatekeep. So I'm always about helping people and,
Mhm.
when I can. But now, even with a platform, and people's like, right, even now, they tell me I don't charge enough for my course, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, maybe what? Because I'm undercutting everybody else. But that's not the case. It's just that I actually didn't have a course, I didn't have anything. And that it was, I'm only one person and I can only be like people. First of all, it's not something you're not even going to learn on this call. I can give you a whole bunch of tricks now. You can kind of get
Mhm.
started. You're not going to know everything. First of all, no one knows everything in general. So I'm always learning. There's always travel hacking is always evolving. It's like technology. But at the same time, I tell people, like, I don't know everything, but I know a lot. I probably can help
Mhm.
you. I've already been to 100 countries. You know what I mean? But I can't sit and talk with somebody. I could talk with somebody for hours when it comes to travel, but you also would need hours for you to really, really grasp the information and me to
Mhm.
walk you through. And people do not respect your time. Like, let ask you a question and I'll give you an answer. And then it's like, oh, no, no, no. 20 million questions after that. I'm like, bro, stop. And then if you I don't like to be abrupt with people. I just try to, like, easy, like, hey, and gotta go. I try to use my kids now, like, hey, my kids gotta do some stuff. Gotta make an excuse sometimes, because if you stop telling someone, they'll be like, oh, he's gatekeeping, or he doesn't want to say, or he just wants me to buy his course. No, I have a course that has all the material in one location that you can sit on your leisure at your time
At your
and complete
leisure.
it. And that's what people don't get. I'm like, you're paying for the convenience and you're paying for the knowledge, but you're also paying for, quote unquote, a step-by-step process.
Mhm.
The other
Mhm.
thing, though, is once you do that, you skip past go. So now when you ask me a question, I can always tell where someone is in my course, or if they're taking my course, by the questions that they ask.
Mhm.
Because we used to have these, like, different volumes, and I would know when someone just had volume 1, because they would just talk about hotel and airline cards. I'm like, you're not even talking about the transferable cards. Oh, you only have volume 1. And I know that. They're like, how'd you know? I'm like, and now, even that, we'll get into that, why I discontinued volume 1 and why I have an all-in-one. But these are little things that people, again, it's just the professor in me, the educator in me, the trainer in me. I will always help you. And I'm a Virgo, so I take pride in people saying, like, Ronnie taught me. You know what I mean? Ronnie taught me. I
Listen,
got it from Ronnie.
Virgos
People,
unite. Hello.
hey,
Hi.
there we go. So
We're
I,
look, we're good for something, even though y'all talk about us. We're good for something.
right?
And
And I didn't
so,
mean to deviate
yeah.
from some of you. I know that you have
No,
some.
no, no. This is a good flow. And so just to step back then. So basically you said y'all did all this traveling on like a regular job, that sort of thing. Did you ever have pushback from managers, or did you basically strategically place it where you were working around holidays, or how did you do it? And of course, in most jobs, we do still get time off regardless of holidays, but were you strategic? Did you ever get somebody like, I'm sorry, where are you?
So let me tell you about that too. Here's some tips, and that is going to happen. Number one, we always travel, even to this day, we always travel around the federal holidays, adding that extra day free PTO, right? That's number one. Number two, so my wife never told her coworkers really, like, her travel, because you got haters out there.
Yeah.
I embraced it. I had one job. in this 100 countries, I've only been in two different positions. I worked for the FAA and now I work for DOE. So when I was with FAA at some point, I didn't really say too much. And then when I got to DOE, they're more embracing. Here's what I would tell you. Let me tell you what's funny. And I employ everyone listening to try this theory. And I promise you, 90% of the chance this will occur. So I'll give you an example of how we used to travel and not take so many PTO, right? So let's still go with, what are we coming up? So let's go with July 4th. Nah, you know what? Let's not do July 4th. Let's go with Juneteenth. Juneteenth is there. You know, we know why we're going with Juneteenth, right? So Juneteenth is going to be celebrated on a Monday, like a July 4th will be celebrated on a Monday for the most part. I think sometimes it falls on Friday, but we'll go with a Monday. So let's say this upcoming Monday is off. Today is Thursday, right? I can take off just Friday, then I have all day Friday. And this is assuming that you work 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, right? We're assuming you have Saturdays and Sundays off, as we do. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday being the holiday, that is now 4 days, right? Now, today, after work, I would have left and flew and been there. And here's what I would do. I would book that day, because when you book with points and miles, you get the 5th night free. So even if I'm not there for necessarily 5 nights, I will book 5 nights, because I can arrive late the day before, or I can arrive 7 a.m. tomorrow and my
you
room
can check into your room
ready, because technically I was supposed to check in yesterday. And that's what a little trick there as well. And I go into that. But here's the other thing. Let's say if you're salary like my wife and I are. So, you know, when you're salary, you don't do like a timesheet. You don't have a time clock. And, you know, I'll say, I'm just take a half a day. Check this out. If you take a half a day and some people assume it's for pleasure, one, all of a sudden all this work is going to come up. Oh, you can't really do that. Oh, you're not taking a half a day to grab a flight. So do this. You say to your coworker, like, hey, or your supervisor, hey, I got to take off a little early because I got to take my kid to the dentist. I got to take off a little early because I have to get my kid from daycare. And I do, but I'm getting my kid from daycare to go
on a trip.
Yeah, right. But we'll just say that, you know, daycare, blah, blah, blah. Oh, wow. You know, inconvenience. People like, oh, yeah, go ahead. They won't say anything. They know that you're going to a dentist, a doctor, something that they don't necessarily want, or like, oh, wow, that sucks. You know what I mean? Go. Say, hey, can I take off a little early because I got to catch this flight? Oh, well, we got blah, blah, blah deadline. The monthly's due, blah, blah, blah. And all of it, something, when you are doing something fun and something that they want to necessarily do, all of a sudden, you have to do stuff. They have things for you to do. There's a weekly report due. There's a monthly report due. There's so-and-so who needs help. When you are doing something that they want to do too, like they want to travel, they want to go away, all of a sudden there's things that need to be done. But just say you're going to the dentist. That sucks. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No one.
The work will wait until you get back, whenever that is.
Yeah, not exactly. When work away when you get back, when it's something that doesn't seem fun. Seem fun. I tell people all the time, you can, and the way you do is you gauge how your supervisor is by doing that test. You take off a little bit and say that it's, you know, I don't, and that's the other thing. I don't use PTO unless I'm traveling. So if I'm sick, I'm going to the office. Just stay away from me. That's what I tell people. I tell people all the time. Just stay away from me.
I'm in public health, and that's disturbing on so many levels.
I know, and listen to me. And my wife is NIH, so you know she used to be with CDC, and she would say, "What?" I said, "Listen, now we work from home, but I had an office, so I'm going to my office.
Like, don't come to my office."
Like I would, before even COVID, I would wear a mask when I was sick. I wear my mask. Like, hey, I'm a little sick. I have my hand sanitizer. I'm not going to get you sick. Just stay away from me.
And back in the day, people were like, "Oh, you're half dead, but you can still come in." Cool, no problem. Like before COVID, people like, please, as long as you don't die in the office, come on in.
And you know, when I'm of that era, that I'm not dead, I'm going in the office, but I'm also not taking my PTO. I'm not taking. The other thing I don't do, I don't take PTO. You know, when people just need a break, my break is going to be on a trip. I don't take PTO unless it's paid time off on a vacation. One thing is I don't have all mine is lumped together, so I don't have sick days like Sheba. My wife has sick days, so she'll use her sick days and sick days, but I don't. Mine is all lumped together. So for me, I'm like, nah, I'm not taking off nothing unless we're going on a trip. But that was one thing as well, and that's how I maximize that day. I don't take my day off just to sit home. I don't take a day off like, oh, my kid is sick and I'm gonna stay home. I'll work a half a day or whatever. Now
Yeah.
we work remote, and we didn't have kids. So the greatest thing in this situation is that Nubia was born December 2019. The COVID hit like March. I
Mhm.
literally was on paternity leave, came back to the office, was there for 1 month, and then COVID hit and we left. You know what I'm saying? So everybody was home.
Okay.
So my kids are pandemic babies. They kind of grew up, or at least Nubia is, and then Nala was born. She was born 2022. So we kind of
We
still,
were kind of out,
you know
in
what I
and
mean?
out.
Yeah. And we saved a lot of money. We didn't have daycare.
Mhm.
We our kids have never been with anybody but us. So,
Mm.
and it's crazy. Even when Nala was born, we did have one person that kind of stayed with Nubia, but then I left the hospital and went home with my daughter. So she probably had not even a full 24 hours away from us. So both of our daughters have never been more than 24 hours. And that's only been one time. So I could be like a couple hours away from us. No one's ever watched our kids. So a lot of times when people are like, "Oh, how you take your kids?" They're going with us
Feel
everywhere.
like they're going.
My
And
wife's not
listen.
gonna, and so now, these are the things I'm a Virgo, so I'm all about the challenge. So my wife's like, "Oh, anything over 5 hours, we got to fly first to business class." Okay, now we got kids, and you say that it's not those. Oh well, you can't do. We don't have enough points. You figure it out.
Let's figure it
I'm a
out.
Virgo. I pledge. I'm a Noop, and I tell people like, you figure it out. You know why? Because you make it happen. If you sit there and think that you can't do this and that, you're not going to be able to
You're
do
not
it.
going
If you
to.
say I can't, then you won't. You make a
Mhm.
will and a way, you will make it happen. And that's
Mhm.
who I am. And I know people are not like that. And that's actually why I created the course, because I make a will and a way for you to do it. And then I
Mhm.
also, in the group, I'm always embedded in people and I'm always helpful. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You took the course, you didn't. And I'll look at them like, you only completed 2%. So you
Mhm.
can't cry the blues like it's not working for you. You didn't go through it. As a
Yeah.
professor, I can see, how much you've completed, or damn, like you haven't even made it to this section. So instead of
Mhm.
me, and that's another thing. So instead of me going, I'll call you out because I'm a Virgo, that you only did 1%, but then I'm not just going to say you only did 1%. That's why you're not learning. Then I'm going to give you some homework. I'm going to say, well, check this out. I want you to go to the January 2024 Zoom call and I want you to watch
Mhm.
that. That is your
Mhm.
homework. That's one.
And that's gonna answer that question.
Yeah,
Ask
it's
me.
like one little part of the thing, and then you can move around. And of course, so it's one of those I tell people, I'm like, you will always succeed in T2T. The
Yeah.
only way you're not going to succeed is you literally do
Don't do
nothing.
it.
You do
Mhm.
like not even a little bit, nothing. Like you
Mhm.
sign up and you never come to the group. You never message me. You never do anything. Then of course I can't help you. But
Mhm.
if you give me a little like Ronnie, this is hard, blah blah. Well, let's figure this out. This is
Yeah.
why I have one-on-ones. We're gonna make it happen. That's
Mhm.
why I have so many success stories in our community and so many people. And so many people and it's funny. I only have 2,000 people that are in my course, and depending on how you look at it, influencers always say, Ronnie, 2,000 is a lot because you have more than you think. And then some people don't think it's a lot. They're like, oh, only 2,000, you got like 170,000 following you. I'm like, everybody's not hopping on. But
Yeah.
to be able to say I have 2,000 people, and I would say at least half are definitely winning, it's kudos just in general. I like to pat myself on the back. I tell people
Mhm.
that post I did where over 100 people were showing how they flew in first and business class for the first time because of Teacher T. I was proud of that. I
You.
show that post all the time now. So
Yes, and that's a good point because I've had a few friends that ask because I've been taking my daughter on trips and going on trips myself, and they're like, "Wait a minute, the Waldorf Astoria and first class, like what's happening here? You spending that kind of money?" And and again, people don't want to be in your pockets, but they kind of do, and they're like, "So what's going on here when you spending this mad cash?" Especially if someone is resourceful enough to go to that hotel or that site and like, "Oh, I see how much it is per night," and you're like, no, no, no. That is what it is for somebody that's paying for it. I'm not doing that. I am maximizing my points, my free night certificates. And so we can shout out to the Hiltons of the world, the Marriotts of the world, and others that you get that. And those are the ways that I'm traveling with my child, and she's experiencing things that I never would have experienced at any point in my life. And it's not coming out of my pocket. And I have to say, though, it's not coming out of my pocket the way people think. And so we can delve into the T to T system a little bit more, but ultimately what it is that you're utilizing your credit cards, not to go down the road of debt. So we have to be
Yep.
very clear about these types of systems. Don't go running out there and getting 10 different credit cards and you running all 10 of those cards up in any way. This is not that type of, carrying a debt load. This is responsibility in terms of you still have to pay your rent, the bill card. They give you points for paying your rent. You have to still go get groceries. Why are you swiping your debit card or handing someone cash when if you use your credit card that has the highest number of points for a grocery store, it may be 6 times. So you spend $100, you get 600 points. And so it's more about understanding the system of how and when and why to use certain cards, but then people pay them balances down. Don't be calling Ronnie talking about I got to claim bankruptcy
Yep.
because I wanted to be flossing and get into this extravagant lifestyle and I ain't pay my bill. That ain't on him. That's on y'all. So
And,
just to say that sort of thing about it.
and one of those things with that, and it's so funny. I just had a proud moment just listening to you. I was like, look at you. I know you learned that from TCT. Like hearing it is, here's what I tell people. You use your credit card like a debit card.
Like a
So
debit card.
you're not going to rack up. I live a debt-free lifestyle. We have zero debt. I even have, I have bills that are paid in advance. That's another level
Mm-hmm.
as well. I pay a lot of our reoccurring bills in advance,
Mm-hmm.
2 years. And people go, why do you do that? So here's the thing. What if I lose my job? And this is how people are like, I don't live check to check. I'm like, yeah, but you don't live check to check, but you live pay period to pay period. And whether you pay, even if you pay all your bills on time, you pay all your bills on time, that's great. But at any given moment, you can snowball. If you pay your things monthly, you technically live bill to bill. You don't live check to check, but you live bill to bill. Because if you lose your job right now and that bill comes next month, maybe you have a little bit of savings, but eventually it runs out. But if I pay something off 2 years in advance, I have minimum, I always say I have at least 1 year at any given moment that I can get back on my feet. Because all my reoccurring bills, other than groceries, are covered. So that's some of the things I teach as well. But use your credit card like a debit card. So you only swipe what you have in the bank, and then you go and immediately pay it off. I don't believe in no debt. And here's the thing: I don't say that to go like, oh, because I'm debt free. I messed my credit up twice. That's another thing I try to explain to people. I lead and teach by example. I've already left up my credit when I came right out of college. I had that 6, not even, probably like a 5 something credit score. And now here I am today with 30 plus credit cards, and my score is like an 840. I know I posted, I finally hit the 850 mark. And I say that with quotes because, air quotes, because you don't need to really have an 850. 761 and above, you're good.
Excellent.
761 to 850 is going to get the same thing. Like just to say you have an 850 to say it. And I never was one of those people, but I guess credit card people like, we're going to finally give you this 850. I hit an 850 in January. I know it's not 850 now because I use my credit, but I have been there. And I tell people, I'm like, I've been on both sides of the fence. Just because when people come to me like, oh, my credit's not that great, I'm going to learn later. No, you learn now and you learn the information. Then I'll tell you some tricks on how to fix your credit. People always, again, make an excuse of why they're not going to learn now. Or, yeah, this is great information, but I'm not traveling right now. When you're not traveling is actually the best time to rack up points and miles.
Yep.
You can rack up on your everyday expenses when you're not traveling, that when it's 1 year from now, from the day that you're not traveling, you can literally take whatever trip you want just by your normal monthly expenses. And I try to explain that to people, like, when you're not traveling is actually the best time because you're not burning up these points.
True.
I was earning and burning when we were doing 100 countries, which is a lot of reason why we flew, and a lot of we flew in a lot of economy now, or Gen Pop, So when the pandemic hit, so people, it's funny, the pandemic is actually why my daughters have never seen economy, because those 1.5, 2 years, I was already now on the next level, racking up. And I tell people, I'm like, that's the best time. That's why, I had like over 500 people join. I think, when did you join in? 2020?
I joined, I was late to the party, even though I heard it because I had to do my Virgo research, of course.
Gotcha.
So I think I joined maybe in 2021 or 2022.
Okay,
So
so
still
you
really
came
still
after.
new
Yeah, it was
to
after
the
the
concept.
pandemic. I had a surplus of people that came in 2020. Those were all the people came in 2020 that listened to me when I did like a post about, hey, look, This is when you're supposed to be racking up. Everybody who joined in 2020, all 2021. Those are all my first business class people down the line that was in that post. Majority of them joined in 20. I could tell like my, the 2020 class, as how you want to call it. I
You
can
came in
always
hot.
tell who is the 2020 class during the pandemic, because those were the ones that listened and had nothing but time to sit down and
Time.
rack up. And
Yep.
they were right on. I had over about out of my 2,000 people now, it was about 565, 535, something like that. I remember the number. It was a little over 500 that like did this big join in 2020. But those are all my testimonials now. Those are all
Yeah.
my big testimonials that I have now, because that's the best time when you're not traveling. But
And look, one of our Road to 100 folks, Jackie G, is here. And so I will say though that I was in your public Road to 100 countries for a long time. So I went from a group like Nomadness all the way, and I came across you all, and was listening, but still wasn't getting it. Because again, you can be a passive listener and it's like, oh, that sounds really awesome, but I don't really know what they're talking about, and I don't really have time to figure it out. But like you said, in a pandemic, when you're sitting still and thinking about travel and can't do it, I was like, hold on, let me take this time to learn what exactly is going on, because I had credit cards too, but I wasn't strategic in terms of thinking about it. I was like, oh, well, I got my Bank of America card, and I was still probably swiping my debit card in like 2020, 2021, like, because I wasn't, the mentality wasn't there of utilizing what I had to move forward. And so then I don't know if y'all listening heard him. He said he has 30 credit cards. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I'm sure someone's hair on every part of them raised when they were like, hold, what's happening? And this man is claiming he's debt free. How? Like, but
so
yeah, so
the
tell a
thing
little
about credit
bit.
cards that people don't get, and this is the I'll dispel this. A lot of people assume that multiple credit cards, like 30, you have your credit score is low. It's not the case. It's actually, if people really understand and know credit cards, and especially the powers that be that are in it, even if you go to Credit Karma, if you have 9 or more credit cards, then you're excellent in this particular category. When you have less than that, they don't even give you excellent. You're like, damn, I don't even have that many credit cards, because you want a little more. The more credit you have, the more credit cards you have, the more available credit you have. It is not about you. I tell people, I'm like, your score only goes down not because you have multiple credits, because you have debt. You're not paying it. You're not paying the card off. I
You're
was
paying
like,
it late,
yeah,
or you're not paying it
you're
at
running,
all.
yeah, you're paying it late. You're running balances on it. You're carrying balances every single month. That's why your credit cards is not. I have 30 credit cards, but mine is different. No one person in T2T needs to have 30 credit cards. Now, I do have like people in T2T that are like me, next level, and they have it because we don't leave any points on the table. But my credit card is purely because I teach and I have so many referral links. That's why I have it. I have the top 10 cards that I tell people, my January call, the top 10 cards anyone really needs. But when you get into it, and that's another thing too, I have 30 and kept 30. But a lot of times you can probably have 10 and would have had 30 in the time frame, but you cut off and you move around, like the little tricks I show you how to move around stuff. So I'll give you the example that I give people a lot of times on podcasts. And this is the misconception. So they tell you to keep it lower than 30%, right? I tell all my T2T people to stay below 10%. My utilization is like 1%. I don't carry balances over. So I'll give you what that means in layman's terms. So let's say you have 4 credit cards and they're $25,000 credit on each, right? $25,000 limit on each of those. So that's $100,000. We're going to keep it at 100, like 100%, keep it simple. So $100,000, they tell you not to have a balance of more than $30,000, which 30 of 100 is 30%. So you want to stay out of all 4 of these credit cards, you don't want to have more than $30,000 in debt on any of them together, combined. So 10, 10, 10, 30%, you put another 10 on this fourth, you're over now, right? So now here's how credit cards work. I got $25,000 in each card. If I turn off one card, right? So if I turn off one card, now I have $75,000 or 75%. So let's break this down. Let's say one of my credit cards is maxed out. $25,000 is maxed out. So I now have $25,000 of debt of $100,000 possible, right? Because it's 4 cards. I want everybody to stay with me, even if math is not your thing. So we're just going to stick with 4. 25, 25, 25, 25, $25,000 in debt, 25 of 100, 25%. Here's where people are the misconception. I turn off one of my cards and I have $25,000 in debt. Now I have $25,000 in debt of 75,000 potential money. Now I'm 33%. I'm over the 30%. So when I turn off that card, my score goes down. Why? Because I'm over 30% utilization. He was like, yeah, but I just turned off a card. It's not that you turned off a card.
You took that available money.
Exactly. You took away $25,000 of available credit. So now you went from 100,000 to 75. You still got the debt. Still got the $25,000 debt. So that's why your score drops, because you're over 30%. So one of the things I teach and I show you, how to do it, and I'll go with AMX because AMX is the easiest. There's key words that people don't know about. It's called reallocation. Reallocating your funds. So this is what you do when you want to turn off a credit card, right? But you don't want your score to go down. So in this case, just to keep it simple, let's say all 4 of my credit cards are American Express credit cards. So, and I say that because it's my favorite, and that's 16 of my 30 cards are AMX. So here's
some of these are business and personal cards, everybody.
Yeah, business and personal for sure. Not all personal, a lot of business. So check this out. I say, okay, I want to turn off this card because I don't use it. It's $25,000 of available credit on it. This is what I do. I reallocate my funds. I go in and I take out $24,000. You can't do the whole thing. You take $24,000 and you move it to this card. So now I have $25,000 available, $25,000 available, $49,000 available. No, I'm sorry.
49.
49, right? And then one. And then one, right? So you can't take it all because you can't take away the credit and automatically turn off a card. They don't allow you to do that, but that's your goal. You just can't do that. So now you move 24,000, you have $1,000 left. Now you turn off the card. Now, when you turn off that one card, you have $99,000 of available credit. 25,000 is max, but you're still what? Under 30%. The score doesn't go down. So the key with all that numbers is reallocating your funds. That is the tip.
And not just closing the card because you're losing whatever that balance is. And again, you don't need to be putting that much money, but if you have that 25,000 available, you're losing that 25,000 available, period.
And so, I have a little over $300,000 of available credit with all these cards, but I don't even, my thing on my Credit Karma is like 0.3%, 0.3% that I use because I don't carry balances. I don't run balances. I just use it like a debit card. And the other trick too is if you have, and this is one of the things I'm going over, probably going to be this April call. If you have business cards don't go on your personal credit, FYI. So you can have large balances on a business card and it's not going to affect your personal credit. The only way it affects your personal credit is if you default on that card and you're the primary. If you're the primary beneficiary, like you're the backup, then it can affect your credit. But you have to like default. You have to like, we talking like bankrupt, all sorts of things, doing something you're not supposed to be doing. And then, it affects your personal, but it doesn't off rip. It does not affect your personal credit, business credit cards. So that's another little hack that I tell you people like, all right, you get into the game and then you transition to only using business cards. And your score never change. You worried about the score? You're never going to worry about the score because all the cards you're using is nothing but business cards. And there's ways to the travel hack. There's only one card that's a little more in points, but I show people, and I'll show people in our Zoom April call that how you can still maximize the same amount of points with only business cards. There's only one airline tickets. 5 is the highest, and 4 you get the highest in business, but that's about it. It's 4 points versus 5 points in personal, but other than that, all the same.
Yeah. And I think a couple of things, and this is what you also learn in the system, is again, like these various tricks and things to think about, because also it's important that certain credit cards, if you apply for X number, we're going to talk about Chase and the jail that you stay in with them in terms of if you open more than, 5 cards in a 2-year period, it doesn't matter what card. It can be cards from Chase, it can be cards from Amex, it can be cards from anyone. They're like, I'm so sorry, we will not approve you. I don't care. You could have Rockefeller money, you could have 850 credit score, but they're like, you're at card number 6. we're not going to approve you. So it's like you got to be really strategic about which cards you get, how many at one time. And don't you say often, if you can, try to get your Chase cards that you want, because in that
Yep.
way,
Yep.
you don't come back where you
You
need
don't come
one
back.
later and they're like,
So
no.
I'm in Chase jail right now, but I already have like the main three cards that I want. The cards that I want to get, like they're I don't need them. I just want them. But I have my main three in Chase, my Marriott, my United, and my Chase Sapphire Reserve. I have those three. Those are my main three in Chase that I need. There's a couple that I'm like, I want to get this one, but I'm in Chase jail until 2025, technically, the end of
Maybe if you
2025.
don't apply for another one between now
Right,
and then.
right. And then it starts over the cycle. So the way Chase, as you said, is called the 524 rule, right? And it's 5 cards in the last 24 months. Here's another thing. Your Costco card, Amazon credit card, Macy's credit card, any type of
Any.
credit card that you open that pulls your credit is considered a credit card that they put into that 524 rule. So you can have an 850 credit score, no debt, and you have the number, you're about to apply for the 6 card with them, they're going to deny you. That's just their rule. Capital One has like this excellent type credit thing, and they don't want a lot of inquiries as well. So they don't like a lot of inquiries, and they don't like a lot of open credit cards. I want to say they kind of want to almost like the 524 rule, but it's not really 524. It's just in the last 24 months. So I'm not going to say it's 5 cards. It might be like 8 or something like that. So they got a little rule too. We don't talk about. So I started like kind of saying 824 for their rule, like 8 cards in the last 24 months, because they have a little rule as well. But you have a higher probability if you have great credit, great income, and great even rapport with them, that you can still get theirs though. Chase, they're not even
Nope.
trying to hear it. You
Like,
gotta like
absolutely not.
you have to like. I've had like one person, they was over the 524 rule, but it ended up being a business card too. So even though the business cards don't count, Chase won't allow you to be over 524 when you get the business card, but sometimes you can finagle that one. But like the personal cards, they're not gonna give it to you. They're not. It doesn't matter who you are. They're like you unless you work at Chase. And you work at Chase, not work at Chase. You work at Chase, and you know somebody in the credit card, you know what I mean, in that particular department to approve you.
I
And
know
then
they gonna still be looking at you like, I don't know. I'll see
yeah,
what I can
exactly.
do.
I'm not gonna put my job at jeopardy for you. So that's
No,
another thing
no.
as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's little things.
And then another trick as well, before getting into a little bit more about that system, is that for people, they're thinking, slow and steady wins the race instead in terms of getting points and miles. But another thing I learned through that program is you need these sign-on bonuses. So again, when a credit card, like when American Express has these 150,000 bonus points if you spend 3,000, 4,000, whatever in a certain number of months, that's how a lot of us are getting these big boluses of money or points rather really quickly, because if I know, for instance, I was planning on doing a trip already, or Harper's got a bunch of stuff for school that's going to be a few hundred here or there, I'm being strategic and thinking about at what point in the year I'm going to need a bunch of money in a short amount of time. And then I may open that credit card because I know I'm gonna get 100,000 points or 150 if I make a $3,000 spend, which may sound like a lot, but sometimes when we count up our expenses, like I said, pay for your auto insurance or pay for, property tax or something like that, that money can be gone quickly. And then it's money that was still gonna have to come out of your checking account, but then you're going to get those points at the end of the day. And so it's like being strategic and thinking about, well, when am I going to be making big ticket purchases or paying, like you said, a bill in advance? Then that way, let me use that. Let me get that card. I put it on there, pay it off, and I'm getting the bonus of the points. And so for me, that took a very long time to recognize that. Why am I not being strategic? I have to pay these big things anyway. My car insurance, I paid up for 6 months at a time. Why would I put that amount on a credit card, that a new credit card is going to get me the points versus my regular one, which I might get 3 or 4, points per dollar, but I want 100,000 or 150. So yet again, another thing that got me to thinking about being really strategic with how I use my money.
I'm over here. I'm smiling ear to ear because I love to see my T2T people and I watch them evolve. So I always tell people when I meet them online or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, they're not really into points and miles." And then when I get a hold of them, what I like to say, when T2T gets a hold of you, and I watch the transition of your thought process and everything, and I tell people this, I will change your mindset. I promise you that. I will change your travel mindset. As long as you're willing to learn, I'm going to change the game for you.
Mhm.
And hearing you, I remember you and others that came on board. It's like, I don't know about the cars. I'm watching you. Hi. I wish I had
A
my daughters
recip
to bring here.
a look, a recipient of what I've learned who needs to go to bed. Good night.
My
But a
Nubia would have been the
recipient.
same way. Like, let me get my shine real
Yeah,
quick.
right.
So
Yep,
Nubia is
yep.
not here. Look at you come back. But
Okay, but you can go ahead. We're live. Thank you. Okay.
so
Her.
Nubia would have been. Oh, she's still there. I'm like
Oh,
Nubia would have still been here though. So here's the thing. You hit the nail on the head. When people have a large expense, and we're not even gonna say large. I tell people if you're about to spend about $2,000 straight up, you always get a card. And what you even heard Alicia say is that that's the thing. When you have like a $2,000, $3,000 bill that's about to come up, instead of just paying it, think about what card you can open to get it and what points that, in a particular airline or whatever, or transferable, that's going to help you in the long run. That's why some people, I stagnate with 30 and I have pretty much all of them because I'm always referring. People get cards and then they wait a year and kind of turn it off and they, reallocate funds. They score might go down a little bit, but they'll get another one the next 2 months and they churn cards is what it's called. So that's very possible. And because people like that are also like the way you spoke, and a lot of my T2T people, we don't leave points on the table. That's what we teach. Like, you're right. I got to spend $2,000 to pay for my daughter's tuition. I could get this Barclays AA card and 140,000 AA points to give me Q Suites round trip. So you know what I mean? So it's like little things that I tell people. And that's another thing that one thing that a lot of people don't tell you. They're like, oh, get this card, but they don't really tell you how to use your bonus points. Here's what I would tell everybody if you don't take anything from this call. When you get your sign-up bonus points, you only use them for your dream trip. You only use it for that. You want to fly first in business class? Well, use it only for that first. Because here's why. If you don't sign up for my course and you don't learn how to like keep maximizing your points, then if you're like, because you're going to be one of those people, I was going to learn on my own. I'll figure it out. I'll take the little points from this. And we know we're going to have those. So I'm going to give you a takeaway that make you win and not give you a takeaway that's going to let you hang yourself, right? Here's what you do. When you get those first points, think about your dream trip because one, you're not going to know how to maximize the points. And this is what's going to occur. You're going to get these, let's say 90,000 Delta miles, and you might fly like to Miami or something, a whole bunch of domestic places, with these points for free in economy. And then you realize the miles are gone. And if you don't really learn how to maximize, you're going to be like, I'm using my Delta card for everything. But it's taking me so long to build up points again because you're only going to get like 1 mile per dollar. Because that's not the best card to use every day. People don't know this. It's all about the right cards. It's not about, you need to know how to maximize. So if you're not going to dive in and you don't want to get into the course, just take away this. When you get your sign-up bonus for any card, whatever that you get, use it towards a dream trip only. Don't use it just to get by because if you don't know how to maximize or re-up quickly, you'll realize because you get discouraged. I've seen people, I got the Delta card, these miles, and I'm not flying first class, I'm not flying business. Like, yeah, you dropped 90,000 miles on miscellaneous domestic stuff, and I don't knock domestic travel if that's your thing. But if your goal is you want to travel internationally, then use it for something you dream. Because this is what happens, and this is where this is my drug of T2T. You get in. And I'm going to walk you through. I get free one-on-ones as well when you first sign up, right? I'll walk you through and I get you on your dream trip. And you fly in a live flat seat to whatever dream destination, Maldives, Dubai, South Africa, Kenya, whatever. You go into that destination and you fly in first class or business class. It's live flat seat, they're comfortable, they're feeding you, da-da-da. Your alcohol is flowing, whatever you're eating and drinking. And you get to that destination, you stay in that 5-star property, and guess what? When you come home, you know what's going to happen? I want to do it again. I give you the drug, but then I don't. So the difference between me is, drug dealers get the drug, right? And then they keep making you come back for more and making you pay. I don't make you pay. I teach you how to fish so that you can feed yourself. I don't feed you just to fish. I feed you to fish at the beginning so that you don't you maximize the effort and those points, but I'm teaching you how to fish. So now when you get home, you're like, oh, I'm going fishing today. Well, I'm about to make, I need another. I want to eat again because I promise you this. I had a person, a young lady, she's in TTC now, and so I don't call her name because it's a funny story. And unless she's on the call, then we'll joke about it. She used to be like, "Oh, I fly nothing but first class. I love when people walk by me," and I always joke with her like this. I always love when people walk by me because it feels me. I'm like, and I told her, I said, "Listen, if the people are walking by you, you're in nothing but a wide bucket seat. Your seat doesn't lie
Right.
flat." When
Yeah,
you go
because
on, when you want to fly in first and business class, or you want to really fly in first class, when you
we're
get
not
on the
past
plane,
yeah.
you walk to the left. Everybody else is walking to the right. So when somebody says when people walk past me, I'm like, you in a regular, you in a
Yeah,
domestic first
you're on
class seat.
domestic.
That's nothing
Mhm.
but a little wide bucket seat with a little angled thing. It doesn't fly
And
flat.
again, not a problem with it, but let's be clear as we're popping our collar, there are levels to this.
Exactly. And I agree. It's not with levels to this, and it's not to knock anybody. But I explained to her, I was like, you're not on the level that you think you are. So
Mhm.
then, I changed her mindset. And now she's like, man, I was flying those first classes. I was wasting points. I was wasting
Wasted.
cash.
Mhm.
Domestic, a two hour flight to Orlando. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm flying to Orlando next week and we flying in first class. But I didn't use my point. I didn't use my hard-earned points necessarily. I did a little the trick of uh, the the buy one get one free platinum card trick and then upgrade. So it's little things that
Mhm.
I've done, and I didn't pay the price. I paid $90 for my first class ticket, but it's a
Mhm.
2 hour flight to Orlando,
Yeah.
worth $90 each. $90 each per person, by the way. So $1.90 and myself and Nubia and Sheba. But these are little things that people don't know. It's just about maximizing and getting the bigger bang for your buck.
Yeah.
This is why, if you don't know, if you haven't gotten into it, this is why Congress now is trying to trying to do away with the whole reward system because they're tired of seeing people like us that,
Oh, yeah.
that working class, not rich, rubbing shoulders with the rich.
Let's
I
be honest, it wasn't a problem until too many of us are in these five-star, resorts and in first class lying all the way flat, and they're like, "Whoa, okay,
would,
what's happening here? What's
and then
going
actually
on?"
like, well, what do you do? Oh, I'm a teacher. What?
They're
How are
like,
you
"No,
in
you
this? This
know,
is a $10,000 seat. You
I
paid
know,
$10,000.
but I didn't pay
I
it."
didn't pay $10,000,
Mhm,
and that's
mhm,
the thing. And it is. That's to be honest, and it's not just us because now there's a lot of back in the day there was a lot of racism still
yeah,
around. We know this, right? But now it's a class thing. It's
mhm,
us, but it's also too many of that class is in
mhm,
us in here with us. When I'm sitting next to the sheik, and the sheik like, I'm like, hey, you should have flown. You don't want to be next
right.
to me. You should have flown private. And guess
And
what?
how about that?
And
If you have
guess
a
what?
problem,
That's
take
my
your
next.
money, go
That,
yeah, there's something for you.
that's my next goal. Is private. Is a hustle on private. The other thing is you can't fly everywhere private. You would
Right.
have to fly like take multiple planes to get to the same day. Like Singapore Airlines, I flew business class nonstop 19 hours, longest flight. You're not going to fly a private jet from here to Singapore in 19 hours. I would have to have 1-2 stops. So,
Mhm.
or 2 to 3 stops actually to get to Singapore on a private jet. That's
Oof.
private jet money 3 times. So, people, that's why they fly first in business class. And these better airlines like Singapore and Emirates and Qatar, because they
Mhm.
got their luxury.
Mm.
Well, I'm in the luxury with you. I'm sitting
Listen,
here.
enemy and as I said, I don't think it was a fantasy, but it wasn't attainable. And the fact that it wasn't like I was not going to have to be spending mega dollars out of my pocket to buy that ticket or do the upgrades and stuff like that. It just never seemed like something I could do. But again, that key, once you unlock that door and you're like, oh, it makes so much sense. And so one question you can get from people is basically, well, what's the advantage of a system that you create when aren't there a ton of free resources on YouTube or the points guide? Not that I'm doing any product placement, but like that sort of stuff. Why would anyone do anything that they would have to pay for when apparent there are resources all over the place and flooding some people's inboxes?
So and here's what I tell people. I don't gatekeep, and I drop people all the time. So I'll give you some you can follow because everybody's not going to necessarily sign up, right? So the points guy, originally I didn't like the points guy at one point because he would push like Chase, not knowing like AMX is one of the best. He would push whoever was paying him.
Mhm.
But now, he sold the company years ago, and now I know a lot of writers. I know a lot of people, influencers that even follow me, and I'm a part of. groups that write for the Points Guide. I'm like, oh, good information. Here's the Points Guide. The Points Guide breaks down a lot of good things, and it will help you. But sometimes it's foreign language to people. If you haven't gotten into it, it's a foreign language. Then we have Zachary. I think it's Zachary Burrell. I love his IG. His IG is blowing up. He does a lot of details, a lot of things, piecemeal things together. So you can try to piecemeal the things together, and it'll take you some time. And you can do it because I did it. But it's going to take you time. And if you don't have the time and effort to do that, you eventually fizzle out. You don't always do it. The difference between, I'm not even going to say the difference because I don't know everybody. What you get with me is this. I'm a Virgo. I want everyone to win, and set you up to succeed. So, like, even tonight, we'll give $100 off just for tonight for people to sign up. That's one part. But I also will give everybody a free one-on-one tonight who signs up, because what I'm going to do is my one-on-one is not the chit-chat with you. My one-on-one is we're going to hit the ground running, because I do, I have a whole questionnaire that you have to answer before we get to our one-on-one. And what I do is I map out your first dream trip. I'm going to show you how to do your first dream trip on nothing but points and miles, because, again, like I told you, like a drug, I'm going to feed you this drug, and I'm going to make sure you win. So anyone in T2T, especially the ones who sign up, on these calls that get these free one-on-ones, it's attainable. It's not. So one thing I tell people, we don't do bucket list. We do checklist. When people go, I wish bucket list and this, like that's a pipe dream goal. Like you want to do it, but you're not taking the time and effort to make it happen. We got checklists. You go, I want to go to Maldives. Okay, let's check that off. Well, I want to dream trip and fly Emirates first class to Maldives. Let's do it. We're gonna do it. There's not my dream to do. Okay, when you want to go. And, so now let's map out how long we can get there. Oh, it's like, and I tell anybody, somebody tells me, oh, my dream next year, and you got a whole year to do it. Oh, that's already,
yeah. Say less.
Come up with the second dream, because the first dream is done. If you come to me and go, I want to do this dream in 3 months, 90 days, woo, we're going to have, now it's funny. I used to say, that's not enough time. But then Anwar, he's one of I can bring him up because he's a testimonial. Anwar is my testament that it can happen. Anwar did it with him and his girlfriend. 3 months, they flew to Maldives in Emirates, and they did business class in Emirates and first class and second leg. And they did Dubai as well, because I showed them how to do 2 trips in one, right, on the same flight path. And they did it in 3 months. He did make it happen. He had to open up some cards, and he had some expenses there. So you can do it in 3 months. I just tell people, like, give me at least 6 months. 6 months. But I tell anybody, you want to do something a year from now? Oh, that's already happening. Yeah. You gotta listen. You gotta be willing to learn. You want to dive in. You ready to dive in? I'm gonna make it happen for you, because I want you to get this taste. Because once you get that taste, it's no turn. I'm gonna tell you right now, you flying lie flat seat, and you fly another long haul flight in Gen Pop,
you're like, what?
What the hell? What?
Why?
Why are these seats so close? Like the TVs, we don't have TVs. The TVs don't work. Why is the TV so small?
My little compression socks rubbing my legs so I don't get any blood clots because we're all tight.
Listen, when you fly, if you fly lie flat, and this only happens when a long haul. Like you can do Gen Pop in a 2-hour flight, and you'll feel it, but you get over it. You fly to, say, Kenya or South Africa, or we'll go even Maldives. You fly Maldives in business first, and then you fly to Maldives again next year in Gen Pop.
You're like, never.
Night and day. You will quickly realize, like, yeah, I don't want this to ever happen again. You get ailments, all sorts of things. And if you of age, I tell people, you realize convenience.
We're of an age where stuff starts hurting, and you're like, I just breathed. Why is my whole side hurting?
Right, my knee has only just been in this position for 3 hours. Like, I don't understand. So
and now we need a cane.
Right.
Yes. And so that's what I'm like, it's the little stuff. It's like the tangibles. And I wanted to make sure everybody listening or who catches a replay later, we're not trying to be like, oh my God, extravagant lives are the best and you're better than someone because you do these things. That's not remotely it. My goal in trying to get people to be aware of this is I want to see more of us out here flexing and flossing because the world is big and there's a lot to see. And if you like to travel, why do we feel like we got to barely get on the plane in the back row? Like, why? We can also have things that we enjoy, and if you have the time and inclination, then go for it. And so ultimately it's to spread it so that we all hear, because once you get into one of these lounges, you don't want to sit at a gate anymore waiting for your flight.
I
I am
agree.
always running to catch a flight, but now I'm like, let me get there a couple of hours early so that I can enjoy this lounge with the free food and the
Food and free
drinks
drink.
and, breathing air and nodding at my fellow people of melanin color, because we outside kind of thing. And it just, so that's for me the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you, is that it's a little known secret that a lot of them have had, and some of them just are paying. But if we can enjoy this and not have to be paying out the wazoo, why not?
And with that, adding to that, and we'll go even away from the whole. Well, I'm gonna give you three different ways. So one is like, whether you want to flex or just live comfortably, business first class, right? But then you also this and take this into mind. When especially when using points and miles, and maybe it's just you or you're a solo traveler, maybe you're not even that, you're smaller in stature, so that you don't mind necessarily economy, but then you're also not paying for it. So if you
Mhm.
do go to fly, if you do fly to Maldives, you know what I mean, in economy, that's okay. Especially if you're small, you're like, I'll get up and walk around, or you know how to pick. Okay, this is the 2-4-2 seat, a 2-4-2. I mean 2-4-2 seating arrangement. I'm gonna make sure I pick a two-seater, so I only have one person next to me for this 19 hours. Or if you're flying as a couple, easy. It's the broke man's first class. It's just two of you. You know what I mean? Two of you there. The other thing is you're not paying. So the goal is this: not paying for it, right?
Yeah.
Not paying nothing but the taxes. Whether you're flying economy, whether you're flying first business class, it's the not paying aspect. It's the number one goal. Then the number two goal, because when you're not paying for something, what can you do? You can travel more.
Mhm.
If you have $5,000 for the year to spend, and I show you how to stretch it across five different trips instead of the one or two trips you would have spent that $5,000 on, now you have more. You have more countries that you're visiting, more places that you're going, or even if you're repeating, the livelihood. I just tell people when you travel, it's just the experience, the cultural experiences, and just having it's just I tell people all the time, it makes you just feel at ease. And when you travel, when you vacation, use your PTO, you're not just staying at home. So these are the things that we want. I just want you to get out and see and do more. You can fly in economy the whole time, but always go to the lounge. I have a lot of people. It's like, yeah, I fly Gen Pop, but I don't sit with Gen Pop. You know what I mean? I fly with Gen
Mhm.
Pop, but I don't sit at the gate. So these are things that I just tell people it's all about perspective and how you want to use it. But the goal is not to pay. That's the goal, is paying nothing but the taxes, cutting your costs. And here's the thing, I'm not talking cutting your cost 50%. I'm talking cutting your costs 75+%. So people are like, oh, I'll pay half price for a first business class seat. I'm not teaching you half price, because usually a first class seat is like 10 grand. You still paying 5 grand. I don't even want to pay
Right.
5 grand. You know what I mean? I'm talking paying the taxes. I'm talking about paying $84 for first
Mhm.
class seat. That's my
Mhm.
goal. We talking like, over, 500% value type thing. I'm not talking half. I'm not. This is one. This is not. I'm not MLMs. This is not one of those things like, oh, you get somebody, you bring somebody else. It's not that game. I'm just showing you how to maximize your money, maximize your effort, your everyday expenses, to just give you free travel. And
Mhm.
there's people that like it's like what's those crazy couponers or there's extreme couponers.
Mhm.
It's like that, but the next level. Extreme couponing, but using points and miles to travel. Extreme
Mhm.
travel. However you want to call it.
Thank you. And that's a good point you said, and I'd put that in my post. This is not MLM. We're not trying to get a network, that sort of thing. I've been in Road to 100 for a while, T to T for at least 2 years. And this is the first time, and I'm actually like really talking to people about it, because there's folks who've asked me, like, how exactly are you and your kid traveling and doing those things? And so it's not a system. Like I said, we're like, oh, let's hover over everybody's shoulder and try to get them in and all that. No, it is something that you come to the awareness of it, if that's something you're interested in. And I love traveling, I want to see the world, and so how can I see it in a way that maximizes the benefit for me and I get some enjoyment in it at the same time. And so the system works well. And like I said, once I recognize that I have to spend money on these regular living activities anyway, why am I not getting points, bonuses, like that sort of thing for it? And that for me was a true game changer in changing my way of dealing with money. And then just to circle back again to that debt management, it is up to individual users. But for me, I pay my credit card bills, if not every week, every other week. So that by the month's end, that balance is gone. So it doesn't matter what I put on it. I'm already making that commitment to myself to be sure that I'm paying that money off. So like you said, that utilization percentage goes down really far because I'm not trying to be irresponsible and have all of these elaborate trips and then got thousands and thousands of dollars in debt on my card. Even if I'm coming back from a trip, whatever food, excursions, I'm going to pay that off because I've already factored in the fact that I was going to be there doing these things. And again, but I'm getting the points as I'm paying in those places. So at the end of the day, that's kind of intro into your world in terms of travel and how you've been doing it. And so can you say more about T to T if someone's like, okay, well, wait, what are you saying? I might be interested in getting to that point of at least, scratching the surface
Thinking
to
about it,
see.
right?
Yeah. So say more for people who might be more interested in chatting with you and getting connected to T to T.
Okay, so tricks to travel, right? Tricks to travel system. A lot of times I call it a system, and it's a system and not a course because there's a course within a system, right? It's a whole system. It's three components to this system. So the first component is the course. So when you sign up for Tricks to Travel, you get a course that has over 150 videos, step by step. And we're talking like the Zoom calls, all sorts of things. 150 plus videos in this course. It's not these long videos. It's about 10 to 15-minute videos because that's the mindset, right? How long you can sit there. But the 10 to 15-minute videos is pinpoint on different things, how to book with points, how to transfer points, like things that you didn't know you needed to know, right? This is all in the course. There's 150 videos plus videos. I say plus because I'm always adding step by step how to actually learn tricks and travel, especially for the novice level. You will come out an expert if you do the whole thing. Now, that's component one. Component two, which we created, was a private community. So the road to 100 countries is about 30,000 people. That's a public community. If you're in that community, you think you're learning something, you got to come to our T2T community. Now, Tricks to Travel community is only for the people who have signed up. So yes, you can find it on Facebook. No, you can't get in. You can't get in unless you've signed up for the course, because when you signed up for the system, because now you gain access to the community. The community is off the chain. I don't say that just because you already know. We always are posting additional deals, our experiences, our write-ups, our reviews, our how we got this many points, all sorts of things. And it's a great opportunity to have a like-minded people where you can ask questions and you can give information as well. So it's an opportunity. And I always tell people, I also create the community because I get a lot of people that DM me, and I always now push them down, drop it in, just tag me and drop it in the community, because when I go to reply, there's probably 10 plus other people that might have had the exact same question. And now we have it in one place, one resource. And then let's say, someone else in TTT like asks the same question. We can just copy and paste the post and then go right back to it. So we're not repeating, and everybody's, no one's wasting their time. We're utilizing our time as well. So the community is great. It's again, it's 2,000 people in the community, because that's how many people, a little more than 2,000. That's how many people are in the course. You can only get in the community if you have signed up for the system. Third component, every single month we do Zoom calls, masterclass Zoom calls. I have guest speakers from T2T. I have guest speakers, influencers. I myself just do them. We go over an array of different things. So one of the biggest ones was just last month, March call. We taught you how to do a round the world trip ticket for only 170,000 points, business class all the way. So we had both Eva and Nancy on that call, and they shared their experience and taught you on that call how to do it. If you're a solo traveler or you travel as a couple, you can do it as a family, but no one in T2T I know I've done this family. I'm probably going to be the first. I am going to do it, and then I'm going to teach. I showed them how to book it because I knew the points, but I haven't done it. So I only teach people what I do myself. So I brought Eva and and Nancy on because I've taught them how to do it, but they did it. And they teach the community in that Zoom call exactly how they did it. And then they're all recorded. All the Zoom calls are recorded. So even if you join right now, you're like, oh, that was March call. I missed it. All recorded and they're uploaded into the first one I said, the course. So now there's a Zoom call section in the course. You can go down, you can see 2021, 2022, 2020, no, 20, yeah, 21, 22, 23, and now 24 Zoom calls. You never miss anything, no matter when you join. And we try to change up the topic. So that's a lot of calls for different topics. It's not always the same. It might be like 2 repeaters for like some of our beginners. And even then I enhance it more so it's not the same. No matter when you join, you never lose because everything is at your fingertips. That's the 3 components of the Tricks to Travel. 3 components: course, community, masterclass, monthly Zoom calls, which are also recorded and uploaded to the course. You will not lose if you are in T2T. And speaking of, Alicia said, the reason why I'm doing podcasts, so I made it an effort this year. But here's why. I have a lot of influencers, especially the ones that finally took the leap and learned T2T, and like, Ronnie, you got to get the word out more. Like, I think they want me to get the word out more because they're winning and just like, and they're tired to also explain to people like, I really like you. Like, I'm sure they're asking these questions. So now I'm making more effort in 2024 to create partnerships and do more podcasts, more Zoom call, like open public Zoom calls. And I'm not paying for marketing. That's one thing. I'm not paying for marketing. But there's no marketing better than still to this day, word of mouth and people who've actually done it themselves.
And people seeing it. Like, people want to know, how are you doing it? And
exactly.
But either they ask or they're speculating. And so it speaks for itself. And I think seeing people who are actually doing it, like you said, you post your videos and your pictures, it helps because you're like, no, these are people who look like me with families or single or whatever. And they're out there living and doing these things. And sometimes we just need an example. And for me, that was the thing. That truly helped. And I think a good point you have is that this can be self-paced. If you got leisure time and you want to take and look at each of the components one a day, you can, or like me, even the latest the latest one I still have to finish because I just haven't had the time, but it's there. And so I know that the resources are there. And even more so in the group when people are talking about things, I'm like, oh, wait, okay, I need to go back to the course so I can check that out. And then Ronnie is also really humble in terms of people can come and bring stuff. And he's like, oh, I hadn't heard that. It must have just hit. That's cool. Or I had just seen it, but I hadn't had a chance to post. And so it is that he's not the only person that's ultimately trying to educate folks. It's the people who are out there living and doing it too that are bringing stuff back. And I think that that's really, really helpful in terms of it not just being for one person, but it's from like you said, 2,000 people who are doing their version of travel. And not that we're saying you got to travel every day. You can travel once a year.
Yep. And why I tell you can travel once a year. So just why not do it for free? Why not do it for you just paying the taxes you're going to do once a year? I tell anybody, if you only want to travel once a year, we can make that free every single time. That's simple. You know what I mean? Once is simple. Up to about 3 is simple. Once you get above 3, now you really want to start maximize. I tell people like 1 to 3 times a year on your normal everyday expenses, you can definitely do that for free. But once you and like I said, it's like a drug. Once you once time and then 2 times, and then what's to say you don't want to do 3? It's going to increase. When you realize you don't have to pay, it increases all the time.
It's insulting when you have to pay for a hotel bill or a flight. You're like, what?
What? Yeah. Once you, and that's why I have it again. I have 8 million Hilton points. I'm never going to pay for a hotel. I can literally spend 2 million points every single year, and I'm never going to run out because I earn 2 to 3 million every single year. I tell people, you know how like I would have to travel 24 times a year to even get half of my points used. Just about how many points are. So I tell people all the time, like, I have this many points and my travel slowed down. You think I'm going to run? I'm never going to pay for a hotel. I'm never going to pay. It's not even the only way I'm going to pay for a hotel if Congress comes in here and F's it up for everybody, right? And then my 8 million points, it'll last me probably about 2, 3, maybe 4 years. And then at that point, but hopefully by then, Nubia and Nala will be at like 11, 12. It'll be, they'll be, or teenagers actually by then. Teenagers by the time I run out, and then we'll have different ball game. They'd be YouTubers or something. I don't know. But unless the points go away, I'm never paying. And you should neither. You just have to be willing to learn. As long as you're willing to learn, we are willing to help. I can't help somebody if you don't want to learn.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. This has been a lovely conversation. I'm going to drop links. So for anybody who's interested in T2T Tricks to Travel, I'm putting a link here and we'll put it in the description. And also for those of you who aren't quite certain, but you at least want to see what the starting part is, I'm putting the road to 100 countries in, and that's on Facebook. And so you can access it and learn more about just kind of regular travel. And people are still sharing information. It's not necessarily directed education as much as the sharing and question answering. But you can look at that, look at the group, join it, see how people are doing things, and what their travel experiences are, and go from there. But definitely, if you're interested in Tricks to Travel, check it out. I am not trying to make anyone drink Kool-Aid that you don't want. It is no obligation, but I just have to say, and it's in perfect honesty, it has really changed my life and perspective around what I pay for and what I don't pay for. And again, wanting to travel the world, but not wanting to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do it. And luckily finding a way that I can take myself and my child on what appears to be fantastic vacations for some, but we're trying to normalize and make some of these things regular, because then it's not the bucket list, like you said, it's a checklist. And you start to expect certain things in your life versus hoping and dreaming, fantasizing.
Exactly. And let them know today, give them that code. If you sign up from this call, we have a code we're going to give you $100 off, and that code is going to be ready. So when you click Leach's link to sign up for Tricks to Travel, put in the promo code ready, just like ready, meaning I'm ready. You're ready to learn. You put in that promo code and we're going to give you $100 off. You put in the promo code ready. It's a limited amount. So it's not unlimited. It's a limited, not unlimited. So make sure you're one of the first. You put in the code ready. So I'm going to tell you right now, if 3 weeks from now, you look at this code ready and it's like, it's not working because it ran out. I told you it's limited. So you got to be one of the first. But you put in the code ready and you will get $100 off. And also, if you put in the code ready, you will get, and that's the other thing, it's limited, you will get a free one-on-one from me. As long as I see the code ready, so it goes into a different pool. Everybody that put ready, that means you're ready to get this one-on-one. I'm going to give you a free one-on-one. When you sign up, you'll get a different email to give you a link to book it whenever at your leisure. It's not at my time, it's your leisure. To book your one-on-one, and I'm going to hit the ground running. A lot of people use your one-on-one for your dream trip. Use your one-on-one to get started. Don't sit on your one-on-one. Oh, I'll try to learn on my own and then do it. Use your one-on-one immediately, because I'm going to set you up. I'm going to teach you how to fish. I'm not going to just walk you through. First, I don't do nothing for nobody. I don't sit there and just do it. You know what I mean? I don't go, let me do it and do the information. No, I'm going to teach you how to do it. Mm-hmm. So you want to use your one-on-one to literally spearhead you into because I'm going to tell you right now, when I give you the homework and I give you the game plan, again, I'm going to teach you how to fish, but I'm also going to put you for your first time in that first class, business class, that dream trip, because now you're going to drink the Kool-Aid or take this drug. And at that point, you will be back. And again, when you sign up too, another thing I want to say is we have a continued learning process. What that means is this: you sign up as a one-time payment, one-time fee, lifetime access. Once you pay once, you have lifetime access to the community, lifetime access to the course, and the course is a continued learning. And what that means is this: we didn't touch on it. I said it. Travel hacking is always evolving. So, for example, they took away the priority pass from the Hilton, right? So I had to go back into the course and redo the Hilton section because now priority pass is not a part of it. But I updated it. I updated that information, and then boom, you all get it updated. I didn't charge it. I don't charge any more money. When I update the content, add new tricks, update the content, or like Alicia said, we have somebody actually points.com. Very new search engine. I never even heard of it. Somebody dropped it in the chat this morning. I was like, oh, I didn't even know that. And now I'm looking at it and playing around and using it. When I realized, like, oh, this is good, I created a video and then I uploaded it to the community,
Yep.
because even if you didn't see the post, now it's a part of your course. Now points.com is going to be a part of, until that runs out, because everything is always changing. That's going to be your new search engine, or whatever the case may be. So we are always is continued learning here. We don't, this is education here. We're not stagnant. Everything is always changing. So you pay once, lifetime access. There's no upsell. And that's another thing too. So I mentioned volumes before. So I used to, when I first got started, I had this volume 1, 2, and 3. And it went up in levels, right? But then I realized people would get volume 1 being cheap and not get 2 and 3. And like, I want to find first business class. Well, that's in volume 2. Like, why did you get 2? So now I was like, you know what? I made an all-in-one from beginning to expert level. So we got all of it in between. Novice, intermediate, expert, all in one pot now. So you
may not be ready for each of those levels immediately, but it's like work your way up. And once you figure out one level, then you're like, okay, so what's next? And what's the next nuance? And so for me, that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, I get the mastery of the basics, and then I start to graduate in terms of what else I want to know about to go deeper.
And then even with that, what Alicia says, spot on. The flip side to it, reverse side to it. Then you have those people to go, I just want to skip past go and jump to an expert. Some people are fast learners and they want to go. Guess what? You can move around in the course. You don't have to go from the beginning to the end. You can just jump to the end and work your way backward.
Yeah, you can do that.
To the Zoom calls. There's people, I'm being one of them, being Virgo, in general. Sometimes I'm like, I just want to see, blah, blah, blah. And you move around. I have some people like, I just want to know about hotels. I don't want to know about airlines. So we just go to a hotel section. But you have the options to do whatever you want. And that is the difference. You have the options to move around in the all-in-one course at your leisure. But take advantage of the one-on-one for sure, because I'm going to make sure you win.
Yeah. Well, like I said, y'all, let's get out here in these international and domestic streets, flexing on these people in these lounges and chilling by the pools. And they're like, how are you here? Why are you here? And you like, because you see this melanin, you see what you see it.
Because I can.
Because I can, because I will, and my child's sitting here beside me, so you even more perplexed. And so again, it's not necessarily to prove anything to anyone, but we own spaces and we should take up spaces as we desire to live the lives we want to. And for me, like I said, I want to see some nice things. I want to go and do some nice things, and so if I can find a way to do it again without breaking these pockets of mine, I'm all in. So I know we're over time, but I will say to everyone listening, and please like and subscribe, especially for this video, so that we can get it out there so more of us can understand how to think more strategically about how we travel and stuff like that. And then also, Ronnie will be coming back at some point in the next month or two for us to do another panel discussion for those of us who are parents, since this is called Parenting a Noir, to talk about how we can have our little minions out in these international streets, living life, having expectations, and all that stuff. And as we've joked in the group, so that your little dusty sons and daughters gonna have to do more to impress our offspring when they're in their 20s and beyond, because we're giving them the lifestyles that should be norms now. So I really do.
T2T kids need T2T kids, because they're like, look, we know you traveling like I travel, and we're gonna come together. So that's it. I look forward to that, because we have a lot of people in Church of Travel that are families that travel, and now that this is crazy, because I've made that transition. I went from couple travel to now family travel seamlessly. So, and that's one of the things that we will show you as a group in the panel of other parents who travel, who use points and miles that are part of the T2T community. So we will definitely share that with you.
Well, thank you. We are having folks that are responding. So again, looking forward to more interactions. If any of my family and friends are interested, please chat with me. If you're not ready to chat with Ronnie, and again, we will teach you how to fish. I'm not going to do it for you, but just to help you understand. But really excited, and thank you again for the generous amount of time you've given us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I look forward to even our next call.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.